Okay. So hi, everybody. Tonight we're going to discuss the kidney bladder meridian. Oh, hi, Omar. Hi, Gary, if it's Gary. We're going to talk about the kidney bladder meridian, and because the kidney bladder meridian is it's coming up soon in the winter time. That's when that's the kidney bladder time. So if you can look here on the chart on your screen, that's the 5 transformations. So we've discussed stomach, spleen, pancreas. We discussed lung and large intestine. So here's, I hope you can see this arrow. So as we go around on the 5 transformation chart, like energy is descending as we go towards earth, the earth element, which is stomach, spleen, pancreas. And then energy starts to gather towards metal energy or fall time in lung and large intestine. And then as it goes towards kidney, energy starts to float. This is actually an incomplete chart. So you have floating energy here. Everything becomes dormant in the winter. And although stuff is happening underneath, seeds are going dormant, but they're busy preparing for spring. But everything looks dormant. Snow covers the land, etc. Everything, the leaves have fallen. Everything is kind of taking a rest until springtime when the energy starts rising again, and then reaches its peak in fire energy. So, anyways, kidney bladder is associated with winter. It's floating energy. The taste for kidney bladder is the salty taste, and the vegetables or the foods that relate to that element are beans and dried vegetables like dried shiitake, dried daikon. And there's a whole plethora of other dried foods. And the emotion associated with water energy, when water energy is in imbalance, is fear. Okay, let's take a look at the kidney meridian. The kidney meridian starts with kidney 1 on the sole of the foot. It's kind of where you can feel it on your foot. It's where um, it's kind of there's a natural indentation between the big toe and the first toe, about an inch down. You can feel like a natural indentation there where um, the muscles or the flesh kind of forms a point. That's bladder 1. So the kidney 1 rather. It's called bubbling spring, and energy enters from the earth from there. So it's a yin meridian, and it goes up. It travels up on the inside of the foot and the inside of the ankle. There's important points around the ankle, up to the inside of the leg, and to the front, just to the right and left side of the midline of the thorax, and then up into the scapula. So it's a yin meridian, and if you around along these points, they're often very tender. So stimulation of these points is very beneficial. Next, the kidney meridian, like I said, is a yin meridian. The kidney energy, the kidney function is to store ki or life force. It's said that we're born with a certain amount of ki, and that's all you get for your life. So it's really important to preserve that ki energy or constitutional energy. The kidneys filter, functionally, kidneys filter fluid throughout the body, so spinal fluid, lymphatic fluids, liquids. So it filters all these fluids. So it has a really big job. Often the kidneys, because of the way we eat in modern society, get clogged up, and then the lymph system can't get purified, and then it leads to illnesses, even things like lymphoma in the extreme. The kidneys themselves, excuse me, are located in the lower back, above the waist, but below kind of the lung area. So tightness or tenderness or discomfort in that area of the body usually means that the kidneys are swollen or too tight. And you can diagnose kidney problems by looking at the underneath the eyes, if there's dark circles under the eyes, or purple, or sometimes green, or bluish tinges. That usually indicates kidney depletion. The energy is depleted, you're overtired, you're exhausted, you're fatigued. And sometimes there's bags under the eyes. So hard bags under the eyes indicate that there's accumulation of dairy or animal fats. Whereas like sort of just puffiness under the eyes that comes and goes, that isn't constant, is more like excess liquid intake. You're not the kidneys aren't filtering out liquid efficiently. The adrenal glands are above the kidneys, so hence when you're fatigued, you get the dark circles under the eyes. And the adrenal glands and the kidneys, hormones associated with those glands are the cortisol and adrenaline. Okay, so next, what harms the kidneys is dairy and sugar. Along with the standard we're talking about the Western diet. So dairy food, excess dairy food, and too much sugar, sweets, alcohol, everything. Run the gamut of sweets, pastries, spices, or tropical fruit, all that kind of stuff. That damages the kidneys. Of course, animal food also plays its part in it. And cold is also very harmful to the kidneys. So it's really important to keep the kidney area warm, especially in our climate. We tend to be a bit cavalier. We don't reverse up warmly enough in the winter, and that will cause kidney problems, bladder problems, and bladder irritation by not keeping that area of the body warm. Too much liquid damages the kidneys, as does too little liquid, right? So you have to find the right balance. Not enough sleep, too much exhaustion, too much activity, too much sex will deplete the kidney energy. Medications, and not enough fresh air, not enough mild exercise, like taking walks in nature and so on. The other issue with not enough sleep, medications, not enough circulation of energy, right? So it's important to exercise. Even taking just a walk in nature every day is very good for the kidneys. But yoga, Tai Chi, those kinds of traditional exercises are very beneficial for stretching out that area and relieving congestion. There's also ginger compresses that we can get into that another time. But if you're familiar with ginger compresses, they're very beneficial for the kidneys. Basically to relieve tension and to help dissolve stagnation in the kidneys, the old dairy food, all stuff like that that's gotten stuck there from our bad eating habits. Okay, so we're just going to get into the bladder meridian. I just wanted to say, I should have said it at the outset. So these discussions about meridians are not thorough. They're just like a little Coles Notes version or that should inspire you to learn more, right? Whether it's on the internet or by buying a book or going to get a shiatsu treatment, traditional shiatsu treatment by a good therapist. So this is by no means exhaustive, okay? Okay, the bladder meridian is the kidney and bladder are paired meridians. So it's the yang meridian, and it starts the bladder point number 1 is just on the inside of the eye, like right at the corner of the inside of the eye, closest to the nose, and it runs over the forehead and then over the head and all the way down, just to the right and left side. Meridians run on both sides of the body, of the spine. And then you see there's a parallel meridian that starts from the base of the neck and runs parallel so there's 2 meridians. And then they run parallel again through the buttocks and then down through the hamstrings and all the way down, and it ends at the baby toe. Okay, so this meridian is the yang meridian, and it is associated with the nervous system, right? Look, it runs all the way down the back. So any kind of nervous tension, any kind of flight, fear of flight situation will tense up, will activate this bladder meridian and tense it up. Okay, and also along this meridian, there are many points. They're called bull points, and when they're stimulated, they will affect other organs, other internal organs. So it's a very important meridian. Next. So it's a yang meridian. It governs our flight and fight response. It's associated with the nervous system. I mentioned the first point is on the inner corner of the eye. We often have tightness in that meridian. If you get a massage, or even you just can feel the tightness along the bladder meridian. And if you have difficulty doing forward bends, if you can't bend forward and touch the floor with the palms of your hands, you have tightness in your bladder meridian. Usually the tightness first appears in the hamstrings if you're exercising, especially in men, because maybe men carry more tension around, or maybe they eat more animal food, but there's more tension in the bladder meridian in men than in women. Yeah, so if you treat the back, so if you have chronic back tightness, it's a good idea to have it dealt with before it gets more ingrained, shall we say. So it's good to have shiatsu treatments, good massage, good to have hot baths and so on, whatever relieves the lying down, right? Relaxing, resting, whatever helps to release the tension in the back. And when there's too much tension, like and the condition becomes hardened, it will manifest itself emotionally, right? So in indecisiveness, fearfulness, timidity, and then it goes into jealousy, suspicion, and holding on to grudges, right? That's all to do with the bladder meridian. Too much tightness, too much yang energy, too much animal food will create those problems. Just a minute. Sorry. The things that harm the bladder meridian are, the usual culprits: animal food, hard dairy food, baked flour products. You can even within macrobiotics, if you're eating a pretty good macrobiotic diet, but you're having too much baked flour products, too much um, too much baked flour, like in the form of pretzels or chips. Well, they're fried, but crispy, crunchy. Um, too much food that's concentrated, cookies, cakes, etc. You're going to develop what we termed as bread back. That means like basically tightness in your back, and you have trouble bending over. So by eliminating those foods from your diet, you'll get some relief from the tightness in your bladder meridian. Also, in our modern life, we're constantly in a flight or fight situation, kind of low level stress, like always feeling that you're going to be attacked, whether it's in driving or whether it's a particularly stressful job, or just coping, standing in line for hours in the government office, that kind of thing. So we're constantly in a flight or fight scenario. And so then the back tightens up in order to ward off danger, and that affects your nervous system. So you have to become conscious of that. Become conscious that maybe you're always living in this constant kind of low-level panic mode, and it takes a toll on the nervous system. Also, bad salt. Iodized salt, table salt. Be sure, if you do anything else, to get a good quality sea salt, like a Mashio SI salt. Avoid the Himalayan salt, avoid gray salts, because they're way too high in minerals, and they're too hardening. Doing nothing really helps as well, like just doing nothing, because it's hard to do nothing. You always tend to fill that empty space with whatever, with anything, with more things to do, list of things to do. But we never get enough done. So that's really important. If you have to book off time in the day in your diary where you're doing nothing, or doing something that you really love, like enjoying hobbies, or taking a walk, or um, doing something that's away from the computer, away from electronic devices, away from being indoors. And also, you know, try to like not create stress for yourself. Like take a look at your life and see where you're creating your own stress. I mean, there's all kinds of reasons why we create our own stress and fill up our time with running around and being busy, and all it does is kind of deplete our energy. So like going to a meditation class that that's set for like 8:30 at night, and you have to drive an hour and a half to get there, an hour and a half to get home in the wintertime. That's not really productive. I mean, I guess you have to balance the pros and cons of it, but you know, try to really take a look at the things that you do in your life that are stress creating and counterproductive to having a healthy immune system, having a healthy nervous system. And so so you need to self-reflect to see where you're creating tension and stress in your life. Um, are there any questions? Because I'm happy to answer questions. Okay, no questions. Okay. Because I've gotten through this talk amazingly quickly. Hmm. I'm surprised that you mentioned Himalayan salt. Oh, Marisa, yeah. So Himalayan salt, yeah, that's kind of another one of those. I guess you're surprised because it's so touted as being so health giving, but it's very high in minerals, right? So preferably is sea salt, light colored sea salt, and the brands that I mentioned, because they have the right proportions of minerals to sodium. And Himalayan salt can get you into trouble because it's too high in minerals. Okay, so in macrobiotics we get our minerals from salt, yes, but also from sea vegetables, a moderate amount of sea vegetables on a daily basis, and that's a better way of assimilating minerals in our body. The minerals in Himalayan salt or gray salt are excessive, right? So our body can't really deal with them, and it makes us too tight. So it tightens up the bladder meridian and the kidney meridian, right, and causes tension. So then when that happens, you find yourself craving sweets on the other hand, or sweets or tropical fruit or fruit juices or things like that, which eventually demineralize. Okay, so that's why we avoid Himalayan salt and table salt and gray salt. And a friend just had an interesting experience. She switched from gray salt to Amasho, like a nice sea salt, nice mild sea salt, and her blood pressure normalized. So that was pretty dramatic. So salt is really, really important because we need salt. Like we need salt. Mm, we need minerals, and we need a little bit of salt because in if you're eating a vegan diet, a macrobiotic diet, grains, for example, are a little bit on the acid side. So by adding salt to make them more alkaline. So we need our bodies, our blood needs to be a little bit alkaline, sort of resembling um, the it should like we came out of the ocean, so our blood is kind of symbolic of the seawater that we left behind. So we want to create an alkaline condition, like bacteria and other viruses and um, things that can attack our cells can't live in an alkaline environment. So we do need a little bit of salt. Doesn't mean we're pouring salt all over the place. And on in a macrobiotic diet, we use salt sparingly but effectively, right? We don't sprinkle salt at the table. We don't put soy sauce on our food at the table, but we use salt, but we're very respectful of salt so that we are depleted mineral stores essentially. What about cold, hot foods and temperatures? Yes, cold food affects the kidneys. I thought I mentioned that. I meant to mention it. Oh, cold, yeah, avoiding the cold. So cold, I think I just mentioned cold from the environment, but also cold drinks from the refrigerator, ice cold drinks. The drink should be room temperature or warmer, or any kind of food should be room temperature or warmer. That really damages the kidneys as well. And also keeping the kidneys warm, just keeping the kidneys warm, period. I mean, in traditional societies, they would wrap things around their kidneys in colder and temperate climates to make sure that the hara and the kidneys were protected all the time, because there was a real strong belief the kidneys were where your energy started, or where kidneys were the storehouse of your energy, the energy that was um, given to you at birth. You know, that's supposed to last you for your whole life. So if you adopt that concept that you have X amount of energy that has to last for your whole life, then you should spend most of your time preserving that energy or finding ways not to dissipate that energy. And that's essentially what harms the kidneys is dissipating your energy, right? Dissipating, putting out more energy than you have, right? Or depleting your stores of energy. That's what harms the kidneys. And they can be restored, of course, but then it takes time. Um, and so hypoglycemia, which I talk about a lot, I'm talking about the hypoglycemia that most of us have, where you have an energy dip in the afternoon, where you have trouble falling asleep, where you have trouble getting up, and then you have trouble with energy in mid-afternoon. That's because the kidneys are not working optimally, right? The kidneys become damaged because of too much sugar. That's probably the biggest number one thing is too much sugar damages kidneys, as does dairy food. So in macrobiotics, we often hear, "Oh, you're hypoglycemic. I'm hypoglycemic." So you crave sweets. You try to get off the sweets and the more um, extreme stimulating food. And it's very, very difficult because your kidneys are working below optimum level. And so you're constantly trying to feed yourself sugar to keep your energy up, right? Eventually, if you're eating a pretty balanced macrobiotic diet, the kidneys will heal and your cravings will be reduced. But you always have to be careful about that. Any other questions? Okay, if you'd like, I'm going to open it up to discussion now. So maybe we can just interact a bit. And I'm going to put it on discussion. And feel free to log on. What happened to Susan? Omar? Susan, maybe do you have any updates from your brother?
Can you hear me, Alice?
Yep, I can hear you. I thought I saw
Okay.
Omar logging in. How's your brother?
No more news. We'll find out
No
more
more news?
tomorrow.
Oh boy, is he okay?
Um, I have no updated
Did
information.
Okay. Did they operate on him?
Yes. Yeah. Uh, yes. Very surprising.
Yeah, yeah. Was he vegan?
No, he ate his
Oh,
he ate meat. He had alcohol, but within moderation.
Yeah. Hmm. Sorry, hello, you there? Susan, are you still there? Nope, she's gone.
No?
Oh, hi, Omar.
Hi.
How are you? How are you?
G-
Do you have any questions?
Yes, I have one question.
Yes.
So, so like, what's the difference between uh, weak kidneys and tight kidneys? So, say we have like extra salt on animal food. How does that affect
Mm-hmm.
the kidneys as opposed to having yin? So, what's the difference of the?
Oh, okay. So if you have excess, if you have yin, it makes the kidneys weak, right? You get dark circles under your eyes, purple circles under your eyes, become weak, right? Low energy, like your adrenals become exhausted. If you have too much salt, too much animal food, the kidneys become too tight, so that you have, I guess, most people would have weak kidneys and tightness, right? Coming from a Western diet, most of the time it's weakness and tightness at the same time. So, but if you were like, you want like nice strong kidneys, right? You don't want them to be overly contracted because that puts pressure on them too, and they can't filter out toxins. So you can have swollen kidneys and you can have overly tight kidneys, and either extreme they're not functioning. I don't think that answers your question. Are you there, Omar? I don't know what happened to Omar. Omar. Okay. Oh, and I was also, I don't know if I mentioned, like in terms of cooking, so beans are good, dried vegetables are good, like dried daikon, um, dry shiitake mushrooms. They're very good for relaxing the kidneys. Also layering your food, like having noodles and broth, for example, so that you cook the noodles, you boil the noodles, then you make the broth, and maybe you have some deep fried tempura to put on top of the broth. That is very good for the kidneys, very relaxing for the kidneys. So is a Dookie squash kombu. That's a really Dookie beans with squash or sweet Dookie beans. Sweet beans are very relaxing for the kidneys. So you need the kidneys to relax. So that means that it's eliminating animal food, and then you need to remineralize your body to strengthen the kidneys. Usually the kidneys are weak and too tight at the same time. What happened to you, Omar? Okay. Okay, if there isn't any more, if there's no more questions, then I'm going to call it a night, and hopefully you've learned something from this. Feel free to contact me. You can email me. And if you're interested in doing the culinary medicine courses or just taking a one-off class, contact me. And you can go to my website. There's this is Macro Monday 2019. The previous 19 Macro Mondays are on the website, and you can access them for free. So it's www.torontomacrobiotics.com. Okay, and thank you for joining me, and we'll see you again next week. Good night.